Okay, so I want to start.
Why do we do this?
One,
well, we did this to figure out if there's any correct way to protest against Israel that is currently doing a genocide, that is an apartheid state. And the answer is, if you listen to Asmongold and Ethan Klein, then no, there isn't. Asanabi Productions did this fantastic thing where he compiled exactly how to properly resist Israel's genocide, according to Asmongold and Ethan Klein. Now, the reason why I think it's important...
If you want to... Okay. Let's just look at the Foreign Terrorist Organizations Bureau of Counterterrorism Act. Foreign terrorist organizations are foreign organizations that are designated by the Secretary of State in accordance with Section 219 of the Immigration and Nationality Act as amended. FTO designations play a critical role in our fight against terrorism, but are an effective means of curtailing support for terrorist activities and pressuring groups to get out of the terrorism business. That's such a fucking weird way of putting it. That's such a weird capitalist-brained way of putting it. And what's so interesting about this is all three of these groups, all three of these, like, you know, all of the 97 designated groups, these are all people that are suffering organized repression, and some would even argue genocide. You have so, like, that's interesting, right? Not everybody in this 97 designation is like that, but I do find it interesting that Shining Path, not a fan, right? Not a fan of Shining Path, but it is interesting that it's the Tamils and the Palestinians who are being named terrorists first. All right, let's get going.
Is because in this day and age, there are many different ways of saying that you're against genocide, but obviously, aside from the everyday existence, the everyday murder of children done by an unaccountable criminal entity such as Israel, in cooperation, in direct cooperation with the most powerful, most unaccountable entity on the planet, the United States of America, a criminal enterprise through and through. Aside from that, there's another thing that we have to pay attention to, which is how to protest. Because obviously, if you think you are protesting against Israel and you're doing it right, you're most likely not doing it right. So let's take a look at how to do this. Let's take a look at how to do this, because there's got to be a way to do it appropriately. Firstly, stop protesting in the streets. Blocking the roads is an inconvenience for Asmongold, and he doesn't want to be bothered. Okay.
I don't really give a about what Palestine's problems are or Israel's problems are, but if somebody is blocking the road, I do care. And I will tell you also that if they are blocking the road and
dude, you never leave your house. Why do you care about the like that? Like, and this is what's so funny. This motherfucker never leaves his house. You know, like, you're surrounded by takeout bags and roaches. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, if someone's blocking the road. If somebody's blocking the road. Shut the fuck up. You're looking at Twitter videos of someone blocking a road. Shut up.
I'm trying to get through the road, I will reflexively be against them. Like, what are you for? Okay, let's vote against.
Okay, well, good thing you don't even have to vote for it. That's just like a permanent state of affairs in America. It doesn't really matter. Secondly, if you're Jewish and you peacefully protest Israel's genocide,
Asmongold is the type of guy going, "Oh, you're fighting against a genocide, but I was slightly inconvenienced for 5 seconds. Well, now I support the genocide." Like, what?
And we'll call you a token Jew who does not represent the Jewish majority. Well, that's
like the behavior of that is like, to call it brain dead is insulting to the brain dead. It is like, it's not even really an argument or a thought. It's more of like a 2-year-old. Like a 2-year-old's behavior. Being told they can't have ice cream for breakfast. Like, it's not even a thought. Like, I actually think that is not even something a human being, like, if you say something like that, like, honest to God, you're not a human being. You're more of like a pustule on the ass of humanity.
Okay, hold on. That's weird.
I am so proud to be marching with so many Jews.
Yes, the Jews. The Jews are here. Did we mention that? Give the Jewish guy the mic.
Tiles of all ages.
Yes. And of course they're Jews there, right? And Jews have are allowed to have different perspectives and stuff, but this man is like the embodiment of a Jewish token. Like, holy. So let's say 10,000 Jews are members of Jewish Voices for Peace, and they tour all around the country, showing up at every like pro-Palestinian protest or whatever the they're doing, and they just Palestinian Jewish Voices for Peace, and they.
So according to Jewish Voice for Peace, they have 32,000 dues-paying members. In other words, not just people that join, but literally pay money to the org. So he's saying there's 10,000 Jews that go around. First of all, even if it were only 10,000 Jews, like how many Jewish people actively were involved in the civil rights movement, right? Like, this is a large percentage of people.
They tour all around the country, showing up at every like pro-Palestinian protest or whatever the they're doing, and they just they parade them around like here's one of the good Jews. It's 10,000 people of 6 million in America, and part of the disgusting propaganda that they do is that they pretend, they try to convince everybody that this is this represents the Jewish majority.
Ethan is a guy who peaked in high school. No, he's not. Ethan Klein never peaked. Ethan Klein never peaked. Like, Ethan Klein was not popular in high school. He made a shitty YouTube video when YouTube was brand new, and he just kind of hung on until the money started to get printed. Like, there's the, like, what do you mean peaked? And listen, when you have an audience, people will kiss your ass. And he had, at one point, a very large audience. And he still has a lot of Gen X and millennial, people who found him very early on in their YouTube career and just continued to watch. I don't know how to put it nicely, other than let's just say it's not the brightest people in the world that like Ethan Klein. Okay? It's really... I don't know how else to put it in a friendly way, but at this point, if you're still an Ethan Klein fan, he's not doing comedy, but he's kind of like talking around politics, but he's not talking about politics, right? Like, he doesn't have any analysis. He doesn't have any perspective. He doesn't know anything about history. He doesn't really know anything, right? So there's no reason, he has no connection to it. So there's no reason to really watch him for that. So it's more like he's talking around politics. And even if you just like drama, he's not that interesting. Even from a drama point of view.
It will never not be interesting to me that as a Jewish man, Ethan Klein is saying, no, actually, the prominent Jewish activists that are against Israel are actually in the wrong. They do not represent the majority of Jewish opinion. The majority of Jews actually love what Israel is doing. That seems insane. It would be like if I were to, in the way...
Ethan got incredibly lucky. He was able to move from Israel to New York because he was hired to be an editor for Filthy Frank. His Vape Nation video was his attempt at that style of content.
H3H3, the sun finally came out. It's a beautiful, nice, warm day here in New York City, and I wanted to show you all at home what I'm about. A little peep into the world of EK from H3. Vape Nation!
It's so funny that Ethan Klein calls other people fat. Like, his entire video is just like looking at him wearing dumpy clothes and zooming in on his gut. Like, oh my God. Incredible.
Today, I'm on a mission to rip the fattest vape. So I'm headed down to my favorite smoke shop in New York City to vape up.
One joke. We've gotten one joke so far. Him saying Vape Nash and just zooming out on the various lumps on his body. And going, look how fat and ugly this slob is. Look at his socks with sandals.
Welcome to Vape City.
This was what we called comedy in 2016, I guess. I gotta be honest, chat. I didn't watch any of that kind of shit. I honestly don't know YouTube culture, even though I'm older, because it was just, I watched good shit. You know, I was watching funny shit. Holy shit, dude.
In the wave of Islamophobic sentiment rising during like the peak of ISIS activity in the region, if I were to be like, guys, do not listen to any Muslim that tells you that ISIS doesn't represent their faith, you are Islamophobic. If you don't defend ISIS, I, as a Muslim man, am telling you, the overwhelming majority of Muslims love what ISIS is doing, and you have to love it too. Otherwise, you are an Islamophobic person. That's what this is. That is the literal equivalent. He's like, if I were to go after someone who is who's saying that like ISIS has nothing to do with Islam, a Muslim that's saying that and being like, that's a token. He's a liar. Very strange, especially strange because he's pro-Palestine. But
he's not pro-Palestine. He's not pro-Palestine. Can we stop even being sarcastic? Can we stop being even sarcastic? Ethan Klein is not pro-Palestine. He's a scumbag. He brought on like a pro-Israeli Atlantic Council propagandist for Israel genocide, who, by the way, his entire family was killed by Israel. And yet he still hates us more than he hates Israel. Like, that's batshit crazy. That is batshit crazy. Okay, this is completely nothing to do with what we're saying, man. Come on.
Interesting. All right.
But it's not. Anyway, whatever.
Does not represent it.
Thirdly, stop protesting on college campuses. It makes Asmongold feel uncomfortable. He also thinks you should be arrested and or deported if you participate.
Shit, again? Oh no! Breaking Columbia protesters are once again occupying the Butler Library while chanting from the river to Jesus Christ. Can we just please send in the National Guard and arrest these people? Like, what are we doing? What are they doing? Every single person that did this, I think they should figure out if they were a student. And if they were a student, I think they should get expelled. And if they weren't a student, I think they should get charged for trespassing. That's what you're doing. And yeah, exactly. And if they weren't a citizen, I think they should get deported.
Common sense. I think it should be Kent State 2.0. Those guys were clearly in the wrong. I loved what the National Guard did at Kent State. Based.
My point is when
don't use emancipatory slogans like from the river to the sea when protesting. It makes Ethan feel uncomfortable. Obviously, Ethan's personal feelings are infinitely more important than I don't know, people saying like free Palestine or from the river to the sea.
He spent zero time promoting AB's pro-Palestine fundraiser. That's why we were able to raise like 8 times as much money as AB was, because we raised a lot more money for them, because Ethan Klein doesn't care to support pro-Palestinian causes. That's why. And you know, I want to thank AB for raising money and doing that. That's great. But it has nothing to do with the rest of H3. They couldn't care less.
Palestine would be free. Obviously, we have to factor in his personal opinions on this. Duh.
My point is when Israelis hear from the ocean to the sea, they hear
from the ocean to the sea.
All of Israel.
I don't understand. If a movement is for peace between two people, and one people is telling you they're not comfortable with this statement, shouldn't we change the statement to something that both?
Yeah, all lives matter. Black lives matter makes me uncomfortable. I'm a white conservative man, and I think when someone says Black lives matter, I instantly assume you want to kill all white people. Therefore, you have to say all lives matter.
And so it's very painful when politicians won't stand up for everyone and say all lives matter, and instead say only Black lives matter.
Actually, you should say white lives matter. Why are Black Lives Matter protesters not saying white lives matter? Don't bother donating to pro-Palestinian charities. According to Ethan, it's not real activism and has no real impact.
Creators for Palestine raised $1.6 million. That's fantastic. Literally negligible. They've received billions of dollars. It's a good thing.
Has $1.6 million had an outcome on anything happening in Gaza? Absolutely fucking not.
Of course, if you donate to one of these fundraisers.
Despite what you've read on TikTok and Twitter, I've donated $6,500 to a Palestinian charity after the war started.
Hey, Ethan Klein, thank you for the dono. Even after you spend the
Oh, like it's a lot of money. He's acting like $6,500 from him is a lot of money. He's such a disgusting fucking slug, dude.
The rest of the year trying to deplatform the people that have done these fundraisers, then you're a stalwart ally of the Palestinians, of course. Remember.
How could not even a single thing happen?
Well, Ethan,
tell me. Give me the good news. She better be permanently banned. I'm not even talking. I'm being dead serious. She should not be.
Well, let's start here, right?
She is a hateful bigot who should not be allowed on this website. And Hassan and all of his all the people that rotate around him, that they need to be taken also a page and know that they need to fucking stop with the extremism.
You're pro-Palestine because you donated to one of these charities and then you wanted to take it down, but yeah.
Like, raise money. That's good. That's the easiest thing you can do is just give money, right? Good. Let's talk about real activism. Let's talk about enacting meaningful change. Total fucking failures.
Yeah. Okay. Do not support any military resistance to Israel's genocide. Asmongold and Ethan will just call you a terrorist supporter. Oh, no. Okay, so can we at least contextualize like why these militancies form in the region?
Some fresh criticism for Hassan, who is an outright supporter of terrorism. Quite literally. He is a champion for terrorism and a supporter of terrorism. And if you don't believe me, watch the video. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say about that.
When you say that you support the actions of a terrorist organization and you interview them on your stream and then you play their propaganda, you end up getting detained for extra questioning, re-entering the country.
Nice!
And I think that Hassan and everybody else, including myself, let's all sit together and say a collective thank you to the government for keeping us safe.
Shut the fuck up, you fucking cockroach. Oh my God.
You said thank you once this entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you?
What a disgusting little creature. Thank you for defending our nation state to the Trump administration for detaining a Twitch streamer. Like, Asmongold is such a liar on this issue, okay? He knows that I am not a dangerous entity. He has to present it as such because he has to like consistently up the ante. He has to consistently up the ante because he is captured by the interests of the broad right-wing movement that is formed in his chat as he consistently farms right-wing dumbasses. Would you debate him? Yes, but he runs away from that sort of thing because he knows he would.
I'm only going to base my support in this petty drama. Who could say literally more often? Oh man, petty.
Be humiliated
petty,
because
guys.
all he
It's
can do is
drama.
just like chirp from his hug box, and that's it. And it is what it is. Israel killed another 50 people today in the residential building. Another 29
It's like
died.
funny because like Majority Report with Sam Cedar made Dave Rubin videos every fucking day for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Is that petty drama? The point of showing you the Dave Rubin video spam, Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore, Dave Rubin, Jimmy Dore, Dave. These are all Dave Rubin videos. The reason why it's not, quote, petty drama is because these are some of the most prominent political commentators for the right and for the pro-Israeli side. And they are actively engaged in a deplatforming attempt. Shut the fuck up. Final warning. This is your final warning. Consider this your total and complete final warning. All right? Everybody clear? Final warning.
To starvation. Will Ethan Asmongold or any other drama adjacent content creator talk about it? Of course not. It's not more important than trying to get Hassan or other pro-Palestinian content creators banned. One more, I almost forgot. Do not be a Muslim while living in Gaza.
It's a deliberate attempt to flood SEOs and discredit them. It's a tactic. Yes, it's good to fight back against these people. And my biggest mistake in my career is that I haven't tried to fight back against these YouTube scum attacking me for years. That was my biggest mistake, is not occupying those spaces and not being on TikTok and not being on YouTube. That's my mistake. And I'm fixing that mistake.
It's hard for Asmongold to feel sympathy for you if you're being genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. They come from an inferior culture. Okay, this is the last one. So obviously, if you are existing as a Palestinian in the Gaza Strip, then yeah, you can't do that either. Why would he debate you? You're sitting in LA talking about wars 100,000 miles away. Shut the fuck up. Great.
How big is the planet? How big is the planet, Afro Puffs? How big is the planet? Do you think it's 100,000 miles in diameter? Dumb as fuck.
Question. He's in proximity to the Gaza Strip. His proximity to the Gaza Strip is like negligible in comparison to mine. I am more knowledgeable than he is, though, especially considering that I do talk to people that are in the Gaza Strip and have interviewed people that have escaped the Gaza Strip and have read plenty of books on the issue that pertains to the Palestinian plight over the course of the past 77 years of occupation. If you are talking about this sort of thing, then, you know, if you have these firmly held convictions about what must be done to the Palestinians, then perhaps, you know, it would be okay to have this back and forth with the person that you are consistently calling a terrorism supporter that needs to be deplatformed.
And so that's it. Permaban? Yes, of course. I'm going to be honest. I've been pretty reasonable about this for a long time. I think they should ban them. I do.
And that the government is doing a good job detaining. Don't you think that would be fair? Of course, you don't think about anything, and you certainly don't think about this either. It's not the proximity to what's going on is not the problem for you. The problem for you is what I'm saying. And because you can't actually argue against what I'm saying, you have to find something else to cling on to. I think if we're looking at two individuals who are engaging in political commentary, and one party is just not even knowledgeable at all about it, and the other party is at the very least knowledgeable and making an effort to understand the plight of the Palestinians, the people that are being genocided, I think you're a responsible enough adult to make up your own mind on who has more knowledge on the situation, who would be more impactful to talk to about this kind of stuff.
If you want to consider a
the thing that like Hassan doesn't understand about people like Asmongold is Asmongold doesn't care about anything. All right, he's just doing the triangulation against whatever Hassan is saying. He's going to say the opposite. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't care about facts. He doesn't care about truth. He just thinks of the internet as a game. That's it. And the game is to make him, you know, have a higher viewership. He does not care. He does not care about anything. He's Mr. Beast. If Mr. Beast had absolutely no principles and no intent to create anything ever.
Genocide as a systematic killing of a group of people, they have genocide built into Sharia law right now. So no, I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. It's crazy that people don't see it that way. They'd be doing the same thing.
Asmund has no idea what Sharia law is. Asmund doesn't know what Sharia law is. Asmund doesn't know what common law is. He doesn't know what the system we live in is. He's a fucking idiot. He's a fucking moron.
And how much did they kill? As many as they can. They're not able to kill as many people as Israel because they don't.
I mean, that's just wrong. Hamas had plenty of opportunities to kill more civilians, and they did not do it. They were not on a rampage killing every civilian they saw. That's just not true. I mean, it's just objectively not true. Now, you could say civilians were intentionally killed by Hamas, and that was a war crime. That's true. But they were not shooting everyone they saw. They just weren't.
Don't have as many bombs and as many weapons. But if they did, they'd be doing the same thing.
You also can't use terms created by the genocidal state itself. Oh, yeah, you can't say Hasbara. You will read people saying I'm doing Hasbara, which means propaganda in Hebrew. What they really mean when they say Hasbara is Jewish propaganda, because they just saying propaganda isn't good enough to describe what the Jews do. That's why they use the Hebrew word for it. Yeah. Which, by the way,
is nothing to do with Jews, you fucking scumbag. It has to do with Israeli propaganda, not, quote, Jewish propaganda. Can you imagine him saying, like, George W. Bush is doing Christian propaganda? That's what Ethan Klein is basically trying to pull off. Benjamin Netanyahu is a Bush-Trump guy and trying to cause us to get into a war with Iran. And Ethan Klein considers himself progressive. You fucking lunatic.
Wait, ironically, is the word that Israel uses in its attempts to convince others in the Western world. This is why people say Hasbara. Hasbara is not Jewish propaganda. Hasbara is Israeli propaganda. Hasbara is propaganda at the behest of Israel. They have entire departments dedicated to this. They spend a shit ton of money on this, actually, openly. Like the Knesset openly states that there are Hasbara initiatives that they are spending additional funds on. There's a special word for Chinese, Russian, or North Korean propaganda, or is it Jewish propaganda? It's so sneaky and insidious that it must be specifically, specially qualified. This dude was talking about noticing, which is a dog whistle.
I don't.
Anyway, that's I mean that's just him trying to show his chat that he is based, while simultaneously showing his chat that he is still pro-Israel. But he's still based, though. Don't worry, chat. He's still based.
These people,
he's pro-Israel, but in a based way.
Are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for. And
what's so funny about Asmongold, the dumb fuck piece of shit, is that the United States of America is the prime mover behind Islamism. Oh yeah, no, I probably can't watch that on Twitch, unfortunately.
It is an inferior culture in all ways.
That's crazy.
It is that simple.
Crazy, dude.
No, I don't feel bad for them.
Crazy.
I don't feel sorry for them. I don't care. I don't support them.
So
absolutely
yeah, why did we do this? Well, we did this to figure out if there's any correct way to protest against Israel that is currently doing a genocide, that is an apartheid state. And the answer is, if you listen to Asmongold and Ethan Klein, then no, there isn't.